Hi everyone, thank you for joining me on my first broadcast for Anthro Talk on YouTube. I do broadcast on YouNow as well, but this will be my first session of Anthro Talk on this platform. So today being Valentine's Day, I did want to kind of do something based upon Valentine's Day, but I wanted to put a little bit of an evolutionary spin on it. So today we're going to talk about the evolution of attraction. So let's start with saying most people will tell you love at first sight is how it works, but that's actually not true. It's love at first smell, and this is due to the pheromones that we release. And research indicates that love we feel for someone starts with these pheromones. And this is due to the pheromones that are made of androstenone, androstenedione, and androstenol. These are all releasers that kind of put your scent out there for other people. Men can actually detect a fertile woman because of these pheromones, which I think is very interesting. Now, how exactly does science even study something like attraction? Well, over time, we've had anthropologists and psychologists, sociologists that have all kind of dabbled in what love means, who's attracted to whom. And a lot of these characteristics that are noticeable in the patterns we see are things like facial symmetry, skin color and texture, the pheromones I'd mentioned, different body types across different cultures, of course. These are just a few examples. So a lot of people also say it's what's on the inside that matters, and maybe at a genetic level that's true. But we actually when we get to the bare bones of this, sexual attraction, physical appearance is a major factor. So there are universal characteristics that are attractive in humans regardless of culture, and like facial symmetry would be an example of that. And surprisingly, averageness, which we'll discuss here shortly. The same is true for other animal species, of course, the major being that symmetry. There are social consequences for being attractive, which most of us, we would expect it to be positive. You know, things like getting a job, being respected. That is more likely to occur for someone who's attractive, and that has to do with that urge to mate. So across many studies, when people of varying cultures were shown the same faces, there was consistency and agreement on what they considered was attractive or who they thought was attractive. And that tells us that people use similar criteria for attraction regardless of culture or location, and in some cases religion. So cross-cultural agreement of attractiveness is crucial for us to understand evolution and how our species has come to be how it is today. So when we leave behind those societal influences of social rank, economic standing, and what the media determines as beautiful, we have a very basic attraction, an animal attraction, if you will. So kind of diving into four things that I find are the major, I guess, characteristics of attractiveness all around the world would be facial symmetry, averageness, facial maturity, skin health, and color. So starting with facial symmetry, it's kind of a visual marker of someone having quality genetics, people that don't have abnormalities of their face, and it supports a measure of normal development. There actually was a study involving monozygotic, which is identical, twins, in which one twin exhibited slightly more symmetrical features, and that person was actually seen as more attractive by those viewing those pictures, which I thought was very interesting as well. Averageness, although it doesn't sound very appealing by name, averageness is actually an indicator of diverse genetics. In other words, like someone has a melting pot of genes that creates a more well-rounded individual, thus looking more average. This is a result of perfected and blended genes within that community, so that's actually viewed as attractive. Facial maturity is the next one, and that is seen as an attractive quality in both men and women. This maturity, things like having a chiseled jawline, sharper cheekbones, not sharper, but more prominent cheekbones, kind of indicates that puberty has occurred, and then there's a sexual maturity with that becomes attractive and shows quality genetics as well. So skin health and color are the last two that I have on the list. There are plenty other ones on here, but they are indicative of good genes and a healthy partner. good diet, things like that. So having healthy skin and skin color are both really important things. Another thing I wanted to point out is that these are not the only examples of attraction, of course, but these are the major ones that are found across the world. The very simple, fundamental attractive qualities. So next, I would like to go through a list of things that people find attractive in different parts of the world. So women in Myanmar and in Thailand who wear the heavy brass rings around their neck to elongate their neck are seen as more attractive with the more rings they have and the longer their neck. Now, things like facial symmetry are still going to apply here, and it just adds another element to the attractive qualities of these women. Another one is actually the stretched earlobes and shaved heads of women in Kenya and other parts of Africa. Now, a lot of you that live on the western side of the world would think, oh, stretched earlobes aren't attractive, or, you know, it's less feminine to have a shaved head. But stretched earlobes and a shaved head is beautiful in Kenya and actually represents a strong woman who can commit to their beliefs, and it takes a long time to stretch those earlobes, so it does show a long-term commitment to something that means a lot to them, whether it's their culture or their religion. Also, similar to earlobe stretching, we have lip stretching, and this is also common in Africa and South America, and it's primarily considered attractive to men. Now, men find this attractive. It's a type of body mutilation, but the Mercy and Suri women of Ethiopia, this actually shows female maturity in that this woman has reached childbearing age, which I think is really interesting. They use heavy clay and wooden discs along inside the lower lip to actually stretch it, much like ear stretching. The larger the disc, the more attractive. And these discs are inserted over time, and it shows a commitment to their culture and their society. Now, many people know of the Maori because of the recent Disney movie, and we are familiar with the tattooing now. Maori women actually use these tattoos, and it's a sacred tradition. It's known as tamoko, and this tradition is more attractive to males when women have these tattoos adorned on their bodies. It represents a specific woman's accomplishments, where they're from, their family. It can have a lot of different representations. So, also, women in many Asian countries will actually avoid the sun. They think that porcelain skin is more attractive, and there have been times, even in England, where women would actually put white powder on their faces to be more pale. And it was actually Coco Chanel, I believe in the 20s, that had visited France and came back with a tan. And that's where people started to think that being tan was attractive in Western culture, which most people don't know that. Now, there are the Mauritania men that prefer women with fuller figures, but that's, of course, slowly changing with time with our influence of Western culture. But in this African country, drought and famine is common, so women that are overweight are actually viewed as having money, being healthier, and it's a sign of prosperity, which has also been common in parts of China. Indian women that accessorize with henna for special occasions is also seen as attractive. And in Africa, certain types of body scarification can be a sign of beauty. And that's because of that commitment. It is painful, and that commitment shows that they're a strong individual, that they're mature, and it's considered sensual and intriguing. Now, French men like their women au naturel. In other words, they don't want them to have makeup or a lot of dyed hairs. They want their women to be natural. They want them to look like who they are. They don't want them to hide anything. They like the natural look, which is actually a lot less common today. And French women have opted to embrace that natural body hair by not shaving. And it just depends on where you go, of course, that there will be Western influences, but commonly the men of France like their women to be natural. So the important thing to take from this on Valentine's Day is that there is beauty all around the world, and it is in the eye of the beholder. But those basic 4 characteristics we had discussed earlier, which were skin health and color, facial maturity, averageness, and facial symmetry, still play a pivotal role in all of these cultures. And that's what's fascinating, is although there is difference between these cultures and what they find attractive, across the board, there are fundamental things that as a species we deem as more successful in terms of selecting a mate. We think that this person will be more likely to produce a better offspring. They have better genetics, and that's just something that as a species or as an animal we find to be attractive in the long run. Well, I appreciate you listening today. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Next time you think someone's attractive, take a moment, step back and decide why you think that's attractive. And if someone else would find that attractive in a different culture or a different country or society, and kind of just ponder it for a moment, because it is fascinating that everyone does have different tastes, but those 4 things I discussed are common across the board. So take that into account next time you think someone's attractive. Is it their jawline? Could it be their pheromones? Is it the facial symmetry? Maybe they look average. Maybe they look mature. Who knows? So take care, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for listening to my first Anthro Talk session on YouTube. And I hope that you all enjoy your week as well. See you later.